Hello everyone, my name is Dawson, and today I'm going to talk about trebuchets. By the early 13th century, masonry had advanced to a point where people were capable of building walls that could withstand bombardment from catapults and ballista and your regular siege equipment. So if you wanted to smash down your neighbor's castle, you needed something that was able to throw very heavy projectiles very quickly. That's where the trebuchet comes in. Fun fact about the trebuchet: according to Guinness World Records, the most powerful trebuchet ever built was able to throw a 766 kilogram Volkswagen Beetle a distance of roughly 80 meters. Very impressive for a medieval era siege weapon. The trebuchet would reign supreme as the siege weapon of choice from roughly early 1300s to early 1600s, so about 300 years before becoming outdated, which is pretty impressive. And I think it's thanks to a simple yet effective design, which uses very simple principles, but uses them quite effectively. Now, let's get into how it works. Trebuchets are made of 5 basic parts. The frame, which supports the trebuchet, keeps everything together. Your counterweight, which will drop and supply the energy. Your beam, which will transfer the energy from the falling counterweight into your projectile. Your sling, which will hold and release your projectile. And a guide chute to guide the projectile and make sure you don't sling rocks at your own army or something. Altogether, they look kind of like this. Note that the counterweight is on the short end of the beam, whereas the sling and projectile are attached to the long end, with the guide chute sitting along the bottom. The beam is supported by the frame, kind of like a seesaw, in the middle. Step 1 for firing is to arm your trebuchet by raising the counterweight and lowering the projectile and sling into the guide chute. Now, there's a few mechanisms which do this, but they're not consistent with all trebuchets, so I left that out. Use your imagination for how it gets to this point, but it doesn't really matter because after this point you release it and get to step 2, which is acceleration. Now, as you've released it, your counterweight, very heavy, is falling, and it is swinging the beam around and accelerating your projectile. Note that because the counterweight is on the short end and the beam and the projectile is on the long end of the beam, your projectile will be going a lot faster than your falling counterweight. Some good old mechanical advantage. Step 3 is the release. So from before, this loop is wrapped around this peg loosely on the end, and as the beam spins around, the sling will eventually fly past it and overtake it, and when it does, this loop falls off and whips open, the sling's open, your projectile is free to fly and cause destruction. Which brings us to step 4, destruction and conquest. This is just an artist's depiction of a trebuchet that has just fired and done some serious damage to the enemy castle. And yeah, everybody's happy, having a good time. Let's get to step 5, which is repeat. So, if you're thinking of doing any conquering and don't have access to gunpowder, avoid catapults, avoid ballista, stick with simple physics, simple design, effective design, good old trebuchets. Thank you.